just to notice where we are one. Time and distance plays no part in truth. To notice that we are one in the silence, in the stillness, that we are one as a field of light and glory. And the heart always knows this. Even if the mind could say that there is sometimes forgetting and sometimes remembering, the heart never forgets. The heart always knows this glorious truth. The heart is always living freedom. The heart is always living the glory. And so as we join in the frequency of where we are one. This is really what satsang is, that we recognize the reality of what is here, and we illuminate what is not real. And we could say, what is illusion? What is the dream? And the dream is the belief that there is division, the belief that there's separation. It's an illusion that there's separation. The illusion that there is separation is the sense that it is possible to be divided. And that sense that it's possible to be divided actually comes from a deep protective mechanism that but already is in the belief, I am divided. And when unexamined, it becomes, in a way, the way that we operate in life, from that belief in division, from separation, from the belief in limitation, when actually it's never, ever been true. There is no separation. So the illusion is not, oh, my life, the world is illusion. It's that the belief that there's division is illusion, right? It's that the dream is the mind's dream that I am a person that is divided from God and glory and wholeness. Whereas reality is the absolute unquestionable knowing that there is no division or limitation anywhere. And this is what the heart knows. And in a way, this is what the heart and soul, and even the sense of, every sense of our beingness is longing for, is to live the frequency of this glorious truth that the heart knows. We know in the deepest sense that we're not divided, that there is no division, there is no limitation, and we're longing to be full beam brilliance. We're longing to shine. We're longing to be the embodiment of love and to be absolutely wild and free and unprotected in the realms of love and glory that we are. And yet this belief in separation, that is this protection, tells us to stay small, stay divided, remain in this illusory belief system, right? And one of the quirks of this unfolding is that we're so wired to protect that we then start conceptualizing what we hear about reality and the true non-dual freedom. We start conceptualizing it to suit our protective mechanism. So we start creating these transcendent ideas that it's all an illusion. It doesn't really exist. It's not really there. What's not really there is the barrier. What's not really there are the veils. What's not really there is the division, right? What's not really there is anything that separates the me and the you, the me and the other, the me and the world. And reality is being so real, open to the truth of what love is, that the protective mechanisms drop and fall away. And we're living this wholeness in the glory of the moment, which is the ever-present now. The mind can be so sneaky in its protection, and the ways that we want to hold that protection. And as we hold that protection, we hold this idea, and it's just an idea, that there's something wrong with me, that I'm not good enough, that I'm not worthy, that I am divided from God. Somehow I've been exiled from the divine. Somehow I'm not worthy of love. And we live in this frequency of fear. And in a way, our greatest fear is that we are bad and that it will be revealed, that it will be outed. And so we spend a life so desperately trying to prove, I'm good. Do you see me? Can you validate me? Can you recognize how good I am? And if I keep doing these good things, and if I keep pleasing people, and I keep taking care of people, and I keep validating myself as that I am good and proving myself, then maybe my mask, my facade will be convincing enough that nobody will know the truth of the bad seed that I am, that there's something wrong with me, that I've done something wrong. And my great fear is that I will be rejected, abandoned, pushed away. Exiled and limited. But ultimately, if we're holding that frequency and living from that frequency, our life is a kind of self-fulfilling prophecy, right? And life being that self-fulfilling prophecy is either a prophecy of fear or a prophecy of love, right? So the frequency from which we are creating, the frequency of the consciousness, is it a limited mind consciousness that is protected? Or are we creating from the unlimited, boundless field of consciousness? What the heart knows. When we recognize that everything that we see is reflection, we realize that there's only grace. And only grace is we could say grace that looks obviously like grace, and grace that doesn't look like grace, that is concealed, right? But it's still grace. Everything is grace, offering us a reflection and giving us this incredible opportunity to see through the beliefs and conceptual limitations, to see through the illusion of separation that we are actually creating. So in a way, the illusory veils are not put there by God and glory, although in a way the Maya, of course, the divine play is all part of the one whole. It's the mind consciousness that's creating those veils as a protection. Are we willing to see how brilliant and bright and glorious we truly are? Are we willing and courageous enough to live the fullness of what freedom really is? Are we really willing to love and be loved? Are we willing to actually take flight, the flight of freedom in our lives? Are we willing to shine the radiant brilliance of our heart's knowing? Or are we resting and operating from a conditioning that says, no, not you. You're not ready. You're not worthy. Are we moving from comparison and competition? Are we looking outside ourselves like, oh, that one has it and I'm not like that one, and I need to try to make myself more like that? But ultimately, the greatest disservice we can really move in of God glory in our deepest self is to try to imagine ourselves to need to be like another, a seeming other, right? Because we are unique flowers in the garden of God's grace. And the purpose of this life is to realize what is true and to live this truth uniquely. Because as we live this truth uniquely and fully in the full beam radiance and the glory of our own freedom, we are taking part fully in the field of love and beauty and illumination. We're taking part in the field, as one wholeness. We're not trying to make ourselves in the image of another. We're recognizing ourselves in the image of the divine, right? This is really important. That it's part of the play of the dream that we look around and we try to map ourselves unconsciously to limited ideas of how we should be. We look around, we enter into these realms of media and propaganda and story and essentially the dream. And we try to map ourselves through our conceptual idea that we are somehow broken or wrong and that we are bad. And we set our sight upon something that we think is good. And we try to map ourselves through comparison and competition and actually try to map ourselves to ideas that are limited. Because we want to fit into the tribe, we want to belong. But ultimately, the grace is that we're here to not fit in to the tribe. We're here to not belong to the collective. We're actually here as brilliant lights in our own right, as in the image of the one divine light. And we're here to actually be way showers and illuminators and to live this freedom and to not belong to the world and illusion of separation. We're here to be the living frequency of love and glory and to belong to God, to belong to the light, to belong to the field of wholeness, and to actually be the way showers by not belonging to the fear frequency of the collective, by not trying to map ourselves to limitation and lack, by actually mapping ourselves only to God and glory. And so when we come to this joining of satsang, we join as a field. We join in the frequency of truth, of love, of glory. And we're not pushing away or negating any part of what we are. We're actually such a field of divine welcoming and inclusivity. We're such an incredible, potent, welcoming field of love. We're resting in what the heart knows, and we feel safe enough to rest here and to shine here. We realize that we belong here. We belong to our own self. We belong to God and glory. We belong to the light. And we don't have to do anything. It's not an exclusive club. It's an absolute all-encompassing field of love. And here we actually map ourselves truly to what love is, to what God and glory and freedom truly is. And we start to realize that it's not the limited protective ideas of freedom and success and prosperity that we have imagined, that we enter a field of glory and abundance and joy and freedom and wholeness and love that is without condition. And what we're speaking of is the undivided whole, the unified field, the one. And that this lived experience is about refining and refining our integrated knowing of the one field and unguarding, unarmoring, unprotecting ourselves and clearing the discordant patternings of karmic frequency resonance that we can be unconsciously in allegiance to. Clearing the field. And how do we clear the field? Well, of course, it's not a doing. We clear the field and bring about true healing by actually resting and being infused in the frequency field of love and glory. By just bathing in the silence, bathing in the field of light frequencies, where true healing is naturally happening because the frequency field, in its rarefied subtlety, is constantly refining the field and our nervous systems, the consciousness, by upgrading. And when we rest here and map ourselves to the divine, it's like the inner yes, the full yes, the all-in frequency. Then we are making ourselves available for that recalibration and upgrading to happen. And there's nothing to do, there's nothing to work at. It's truly about resting and infusing in the field of stillness, of silence, of love. And that doesn't always mean that there are no words. And we reference this in respect of our joining, our gathering, because the words are emergent. The words emerge from the silent frequency and are an emergent transmission of the light. They rise, they fall, just like the breath. They don't come into a sense of being an object that is divided. They rest as an emergent field of transmission. And in a way, our deepening is about realizing that what we are is a transmission field of light, that we're not an object, we're not a person that is divided. But by saying I'm not a person is not an avoidance protective strategy of that kind of non-dual protection that we can have experienced and seen so often. Oh, I'm not the person, no one here, nothing here, doesn't touch me. which is just saying, wow, I'm so deeply protected and afraid right now that I'm going to hide within this spiritual persona that there's no one here. Because the truth is, there is no one here that is divided from God and glory. But as we really know this and we really recognize the oneness, we're so not afraid to be right here, right? So right here that we're allowed to have a life. We're allowed to enjoy life. We're allowed to be free to live a life in the most glorious ways that feel true for the unique flower to actually blossom on the surface of life and be a resonant frequency of love and light, to be a vehicle, an instrument of God and grace, right? So actually, yes, there is no one here that is divided from God. What is here is just a field of light, of God and glory, a field of love that is all encompassing and knows itself as itself. And our lived experience is like it's like a releasing of the protection of being a person that feels to be divided and separate and protected and conditioned, to the freedom of the recognition of the impersonal. And in the field of the impersonal, undivided, we realize that the uniqueness has a almost like a sense of the personal again, but it's not a personhood that's divided. It's a sense of the uniqueness and a fearless engagement and embodiment of life itself, of love itself. When you stop trying to validate yourself or map yourself to ideas and teachings and lineages and misinterpretations of what the true non-dual taste, the true non-dual nectarine field of bliss really is, which is really to live as a child of God and to realize heaven is right here. And what direction are you looking in? Look towards the glory and let the brilliance of the light outshine all ideas of limitation. Let the brilliance of God and glory outshine all of the ideas and protections of me and mine, divided and separate and fearful. Let love outshine the sense of limitation and lack, and actually enter a kind of willingness and courageousness to live the fullness and brilliance of what it is to be an embodied divine being, an embodied divine human being, right? And it's to not belong to the collective through the allegiance of fear, to belong to God and be fully engaged as an instrument of grace. Part of the magic is that we are a transmission field of light, of love. And our lived experience is about living amongst our brothers and sisters and companions, knowing the truth is that every being is the same light, the same love. There's no division. And even if it seems like our brothers and sisters and companions don't know that, we don't hold them in division of me and other. I know it, you don't. I'm over here in my spiritual journey, in my little nest of freedom and goodness, and you're over there, divided and unconscious, right? No. As the light, we are constantly in this posture of namaskaram. We're constantly in this posture of seeing the light in all beings as the one light. And we are a living prostration, a living surrender, a living pure devotion to the whole, where we are silently like secret agents, just walking around as a field of transmission of light that just is silently saying, I see your light, I love you. I see your light, I love you. I see your light, I love you. I am you. I am whole with you as part of me. There's no division, because any idea that I am higher, better, superior in my spirituality is a protection. It's superior ego dividing what I have and what you don't have, what I've achieved and you have not achieved, right? There is no hierarchy in this field. Let us say that, yes, we open to subtler and subtler frequencies, but the subtler frequencies we open to dissolve all sense of the divided person that needs to be seen or validated as having achieved something. Because one in God, we are one in God, and God is the most humble of all, right? God is pure humility. God does not need to be seen because God knows God and only God. Love does not need to be loved in validating, demonstrative ways in the external, because love knows itself as love. And so what a graced opportunity to notice every subtle fiber of wanting to be seen and validated and loved from the external is an opportunity to bring that projection back to ourselves and to love ourselves with greater fullness and capacity by, again, mapping ourselves to God and glory, mapping ourselves to divine love, and recognizing that in the transmission field of divine love, all healing happens. And all healing is the recalibration and reorientation of the discordant frequencies that believe in division and limitation. And everything has the possibility of shifting in such a field. So why would we continue to map ourselves and to try to find success and belonging in a frequency field of world that is limited, when we can map ourselves to the divine and bring about true healing of all of the discordance, belief in separation, protection and conditioning, and actually live this freedom and brilliance, and actually live the radiance of what the heart knows right now. Yep, right now. Yep. It's not a project. It's not something to aspire to. It's the living inspiration of being the truth of who we are right now, of joining right now and recognizing that what Sat Sang is a joining as a community of truth, as a community of life, a Sangha, a community, a gathering in truth, facilitated by truth. It's not facilitated by someone that has realized the truth. No, it's facilitated by truth itself. And we plug in, just like in the old days, telecommunications used to have all those wires. And if there wanted to be a call, they would plug all the wires in to the frequency of the telephone, right? The operator would be plugging them in. We plug ourselves in. We're completely responsible. We have complete autonomy. And joining in satsang is like plugging in. You choose, you plug yourself in. And you're not plugging yourself into me or to anything that has been realized here. You're plugging yourself into the field. And I plug myself into the field. And we join in this field. And as we join, this instrument gets uniquely used to express the field. Each being that is gathered here is joining through the frequency of consciousness that is willing and saying yes, and is plugging into source. As we plug into source, we create a field to be infused in. It's a deep field of silent transmission. The stillness, the silence, the simplicity. And yet the words come as a loving embrace, a loving dance, a loving song of the heart to coax and guide and invite, like an outstretched hand that says, come on in, the water is warm. This is a friendly field. You know this field. You know yourself as you are, as this field. You know yourself in truth, as the silence, as the stillness, as the light and the love. You know yourself here as the aware being. The heart recognizes this frequency and naturally recalibrates itself as a consciousness that is always looking to map itself to something more refined, always looking. And in a way, what we're expressing here is the truth of what guru disciple is that a part of us is disciple and a part of us is guru, right? We are the divine light and we're the one that's looking for the light. So we let the parts of us map themselves to the part of us, the heart's knowing of the wholeness that we are. And we amplify and nourish the heart's knowing of Satguru. We amplify and nourish the knowing of our belonging to God and glory. And we make an inner prostration. We make an inner prostration by saying yes to our heart's knowing, yes to source connection, yes to joining in the Sat, in the Chit Anand. We say yes to joining in the field of freedom and light. We say yes to the divine. We say yes to being available, to be taken. Great glory, take me into you. Show me the places where I cannot see, the places that I don't feel whole, where I feel somehow deficient and lacking. I recognize that these parts of me are not wrong. And I pledge now to stop making myself wrong and to offer every single fiber of what I am, including all of the parts that I maybe want to hide and hold back. I offer all that I am to you, to your light, to your love, to your kindness and your holding. I offer myself in prostration to the Sat Guru within, the light within that already knows. I offer myself. I bow to myself. And I allow the inner knowing to reveal the unified sameness on a level of frequency in the still silent depths of the unified field, I open myself to recognition, to recognizing myself as divine wholeness, to recognizing. And to cognize is not to use the mind, but for the consciousness of mind to be recognized to a finer frequency of consciousness that is cognizing itself, consciously knowing itself as the one consciousness that is awake in the knowing of itself. And as the words come, of course, this is what is happening right here now. The field is recognizing, recalibrating itself, reorchestrating the field of discordant consciousness patterns and frequencies, and repatterning the field and reorienting, as if the divine is saying, beloved one, turn your face to me, to the sun, and not to me, the divine, something outside of you, but the light within, the part of you that knows. It's like the divine that you are is being attuned with, and is like a tuning fork, a frequency, a resonant field of light. We could call it the Om. Om. And it's this frequency that the seeming discordance is mapping itself to and being carried, like being carried by the Pied Piper, by the frequency, by the tone, the frequency of actual silence itself, the true Om, the Pranava, the unstruck sound, the silence, is carrying the discordant frequencies and recalibrating and repatterning. This is true healing. The transmission of the field of light, of love, is an all-embracing technology that just takes care of itself. And so in a way, the invitation of the outstretched hand is to let this moment be the silent prayer. Great glory, take me into you. To attune to the place that I know you. I know myself as you. Where in silent stillness, I feel myself to be the aware, awake field. I feel no division, no boundaries, no edges. I feel myself to be the boundless, infinite field. I feel myself to be the eternal presence of now. I feel no sense of myself as divided or limited. I feel the fullness and wholeness of only you. I feel the sense of being the child of God, docked in the heart of God, being held in a divine embrace, so profound, so compassionate, so real, so loving, with no boundaries or conditions. A love that is just holding me, and in the holding of me here, I just know only you. I dissolve into you. into the stillness, into the silence, into the frequency field. The song of heart, the eternal Om, ever singing, the tune of reality. Just resting here, resting in the deep peace of what the heart knows, sinking deeper into the embrace. But as we sink into the deep holding of the field of light, of love, the field of transmission, the edges dissolve. The field is an awake field of fine flowing frequencies, a unified field flowing within itself to know itself, to love itself, to upgrade and recalibrate itself to finer and finer, subtler frequencies. And as the field is moving in this way, the nervous system, the consciousness of each unique flower is being upgraded uniquely, exactly where you are, for what you need. The frequency transmission of the field of light is orchestrating and repatterning, clearing away the beliefs and protections and karmic frequencies that no longer serve. Clearing away the frequencies that keep us bound in an allegiance to fear, born out of the idea there is something wrong with me. I am not enough. I am not good. That the frequency of goodness is sweeping through the field and illuminating and holding and loving with such tenderness and compassion of the true, it's the true frequency of mother father holding, like a mother father holding of a unified frequency, not a mother father family consciousness that has lack and fear, but a frequency of mother father holding that is an embrace that is all encompassing and safe, safe. A safety that feels true, that allows the holding fear frequencies to let go of the protection into a deeper knowing and holding that brings the recognizing of true nature, a recognizing of the love that you are, the oneness with the glory that you are. It brings about a deeper frequency recognition of wholeness, of purity, of simplicity that allows a multidimensional relaxation. There's nothing to do, no one to be the being itself, just being, be held and carried deeper into the glory of who you are. And the magic is that as we are carried deeper, We are recalibrated to be an instrument of grace and light and love and service, to live this life. And the way of service is to be a living embodiment. So the magic is that the service is to live, to really live at your evolutionary edge, to live deeply, wholeheartedly, joyfully, wildly, to love, to, in a way, dare, to risk, right? It's to fully risk and dare to be the fullness of yourself. And where the courage comes is through the recalibration that's happening right now. Are you willing to know God and glory? Are you willing to know love, divine? Are you willing to risk a protected, limited sense of love for the whole shebang? Are you willing to dare? Do you dare to live the brilliance and radiance of your wholehearted, radiant knowing of the glory of your fullness, docked in the divine? Do you dare to be so wide that your yes includes everything and everyone? Do you dare to be so infinite and unbounded and all-inclusive that there's nothing in this field of life that is left out of your lived experience, because you are all of it? So just to notice what is happening in the field, just to feel the frequency transmission of recalibration, and allow your inner yes to welcome the light that you are, the Sat Guru, the deepest, most profound and subtle, rarefied parts of yourself, the deep, intuitive, profound, unconditional parts of yourself that you maybe have felt to be divided from, to welcome all that you are, the most magical, free, divine parts of yourself, to take up residence in your heart and your life, to reorchestrate the field of your being, to include all that you are, from the spectrum of the most seemingly broken and wounded and dark places to the absolute radiant brilliance and wholeness of the finest, finest frequencies that you bring together here now through the recalibration of this transmission field, the full spectrum of all that you are in the illuminating presence of divine light, of divine love. And the felt sense is just being the silent field and allowing anything that is present in the field, not pushing anything away, not trying to create an idea of an environment or a moment that needs to be a certain way, but to be so fully welcoming in this moment, to be the field, of love, of openness, to be the unified field that is awake in the glory of itself right now. And just resting here in vibrant, open celebration. Let the glory take you. Let your prayer be answered. Let the inner prostration lead you into the sense of being both disciple and Satguru in a pure, devoted surrender, seemingly one to the other, into the flow of one Sat Chitanand, the flow of one light, one glorious flow of harmony. The silence, the stillness, the beauty. Great glory, I know myself as I am in truth, here now, as a field of silent being. I know myself as I am, as a field of light, of love. I know myself as an infinite, boundless, eternal, timeless being. I know myself as I am, as the flow of life, emergent and full. I know myself as I am, embodied as life, as a unique flower. I know myself as I am, integrated and living uniquely, embodied as love, as light, as a frequency field, a transmission field of light and love and blessing. I know myself as I am, as an awake, alive field that is undivided and whole. I know myself as I am in truth, as the truth itself, as the flowing field of consciousness that knows itself as truth. And I know myself as the nectarine bliss of the light flowing as frequency, as the consciousness that I am consciously awake to myself. I know myself as I am, as a field of being all that I am, undivided, being every single fiber, cell, frequency, whether seemingly discordant or pure, all the same. I know myself in the fullness of a field of grace that includes everything and sees no division, no illusion of separation, no protection, just one field of flowing grace. And here I am able to welcome and embrace all that I am. Whatever happens in the embodied, integrated living of life, whatever happens, I meet myself in the fullness without denying or pushing any part of myself away. I keep meeting myself in greater fullness and freedom as a field of integrated being, of love, of beauty, of openness. Recognizing that the living of life is the way, that life is the way. that life itself is Guru's grace, that the light of Satguru is inside me. It is the part of me that already knows oneness with divine wholeness. And when my inner prostration is an unconditional yes, to allow the parts of myself that are disciple to bow into the Satguru of the divine light that I am. Let the fullness of my inner prostration bring this, the feeling sense and recognizing of the frequency of wholeness in the innermost sense of being, where the heart knows. The heart knows this truth and flows in the grace and glory and bliss light of this truth. That the flow of bliss light is the flow of nectarine bliss that is where the true healing takes place, where the recalibration and reorchestration and repatterning of the field is bringing about a deepening and an integration that allows the lived experience to be more subtle and yet more joyful, more subtle and profound, and yet more wildly free and fully expressed. That to be an instrument of your grace is to be simple and pure of heart. That true integrity is not a set of codes on the surface of life. That true integrity is the integrity of my own heart's longing and willingness to keep seeing what I cannot yet see. To let the wideness of my heart keep stretching and opening beyond. And as I live this love and light in presence as a field of blessing and grace, that there are new horizons that open that I cannot imagine or even possible. But in your grace and guidance, that I can open and receive the glory of what you desire for me and this life. That I can receive the grace and glory of a true, full, fragrant blossoming of this life lived fully, right on the surface. No more hiding, no more playing it small. I'm here for the flowering, great glory. I'm here for the flowering of your grace and glory through this heart, through this life. I'm here to be the instrument through the flowering. I'm here to be and fully take up the spaciousness of being a wide open, fragrant, beautiful, unique flower in the garden of your glory. No more holding back. Foot off the brake. Cork popped. Effervescence flowing. Fullness of life embodied and lived. I say yes, great glory, to the full package of vibrant flowering. the fullness of love, the fullness of abundance, the fullness of joy and glorious adventure of what it is to be a human, alive and embodied at this time. Let me live this life embodied as you, instead of a body living in fear in the collective consciousness and illusion and belief in separation. I now say yes to the fullness of the undivided life. I say yes to the fullness of the life divine, the life whole and rich. And that is not a life of lack and holding back. It's a life of beauty and truth. It's a life of fullness, of wholeness. And here now, a saying yes to the grace and the glory of what it means to truly live as love, as light, as grace and glory, as a field of transmission, of blessing and light. Being infused and deepening in this field as we rest here in our joining, in our satsang. Soaking in the silence, being saturated with the frequencies of true knowing, being saturated by the awake field, taking up residence in every single fiber and cell of your being. Great glory, my prayer is simple. My prayer is yes. My prayer is just to hand over all of the ideas and to allow the grace of your wisdom light to take up residence, for this life to be moved by love, by the frequency of wholeness, and to transmute and reveal that anything and everything in this life that feels to be dark or broken or wounded, it is all light, all love, waiting to be unmasked and revealed. So I do not move away or push away any of these parts of myself. I turn more fully, more openly, with such an brilliant and all-inclusive embrace of all of these parts of myself. all of the parts that I may want to deny, I turn towards right now with openness and love and holding, recognizing that the rest of the love and the light that I am is right here, waiting to be revealed in all of the places that I might rather turn away from. That I acknowledge that there have at times been part of me that want to move towards the light, to increase and amplify the light, and maybe hold myself in the light and turn away from the seeming darkness and wounding and brokenness. That even by trying to fix and change the seeming brokenness, there is a subtle message of turning away. And right here now, I shine the light and brilliance of the heart's knowing upon the seeming darkness and brokenness and woundedness, the parts of me that feel discordant, the parts of me that feel limited, hurting, painful, holding trauma, bound in karmic patterns. I turn towards it all as the illuminating presence that is the power and the only power that can illuminate and therefore reveal the truth of the grace that seems to not be grace, that it is actually just light and love hiding and just waiting for the safety frequency to allow the revealing that these parts of me, when held in light and love and included and welcomed fully, are embraced by the knowing of this heart. There is a magical, magical transformation that happens through transmutation of frequency from fear and lack, from guilt and shame and doubt to love. The recognition that I do not need to work to amplify the light and try to hold the light, but to be the light that shines upon the places in this life that do not feel free or welcome, the places that I resist. That when I turn towards the resistance, I offer the awareness and illuminating presence of love that has the power to fully embrace and reveal the love and the light that is hiding. And this is the divine means to more wholeness. That the full embrace of the discordance, the wounding, the brokenness, the full embrace is the way to more wholeness. And just acknowledging within my being right now the subtle ways that I maybe want to protect, and just opening wider than ever before to meet myself without denial or avoidance, and to know that everything in life that feels to be challenging or hard or resistance is an opportunity that I am creating so that I myself may reclaim and reconcile the fullness of myself, all the way through. And that life and the grace that does not look like grace at times is the greatest opportunity to reveal the love that I am and reconcile all the fibers and threads of myself in the unified field as one fabric of wholeness, one substance, one essence, one light. And as I reclaim the parts of myself, the field of my lived experience is recognized to be more fully whole as an embodiment of love, of the principle of illumination that is lighting the way, showing the way. The guidance is divine, is grace itself. And I open more fully to the intuitive knowing of this heart's recognition of true essence nature. And in that recognizing, there's a resonant frequency of remembrance of what has always been true. And I am resonating and vibrating at that finer frequency. And that finer frequency allows more love, more light, more clarity of seeing, and more connection to the intuitive knowing that brings in the divine guidance and support through feeling deeply connected to Source, to feeling connected to the divine that I am, right? Feeling the oneness, feeling the support and grace of the divine. And whatever name or words we give to that, whether we call that Divine Mother, Divine Father, Ma, Lord, whether we call that Shiva, Arunachala, whether we call that Christ or Jesus or God or Allah or Yahweh, whatever words we give to that, whether we call it truth or love or wholeness or freedom, it matters not, because all names are my name, says the one, right? Whether we call it beloved, whether we call it grace, all names are my name, says the one. There is no division. And whatever names we may use as a seeming portal or doorway, ultimately the divine is really the undivided, the untainted, the pure essential wholeness, that which is truly integral and in truth is nameless. And so resting here in the divine silence of the heart's knowing, feeling the wholehearted welcome of love, of the divine. You are welcome here. All of you is welcome here. All that you are is welcome here. So there is no part of you that needs to be left outside or excluded. Every single fiber and thread and part of you, multidimensionally through all lifetimes, is welcome here. All of the parts of you that maybe are believed to have done wrong, or to be wrong or bad, or to have been wronged, the victim consciousness, all of these parts of you are welcome here. And in that welcoming The edges and the boundaries dissolve into the knowing of the heart, in just the felt sense of being the field that includes it all, that embraces it all, that is the true Namaskaram, the true welcoming, bowing, seeing of the light, and honoring this prostration, this inner prostration, this inner bowing, this inner prayer. Only you. Everything is yours. Nothing is mine. Everything is yours. Nothing is mine. Me and the divine until there is only the divine. And then this incredible integration of allowing the divine knowing and the light to take up residence and be embodied, and to get to the surface of life, to be a messenger of light and love through the integrated, natural, lived experience of life, so that your living of life is how the light, how the love gets to the surface, and how then the transmission of the field gets to bless and be a reverberant field that is constantly supporting the whole.